Look at me. Right now. I need you to understand something that nobody else is going to tell you. Your brain is not broken. It is hijacked. And the mechanism doing it is so precise, so calculated, that 94% of men who try to quit on willpower alone fail within the first month. This is not about morality. This is not about shame. This is about neuroscience. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what is happening inside your skull and how to reverse it. I am not here to judge you. I am here to show you the uncomfortable truth. Because the men who refuse to face this truth stay trapped. The men who look directly at it, who understand the machinery, those are the men who break free. Let me be clear. This video is not surface-level advice. This is the dark psychology of porn addiction. What it actually does to your brain. The dopamine pathways, the prefrontal cortex shutdown, the neuroplasticity timeline for recovery, and the ancient Stoic framework that rebuilds mental sovereignty when modern willpower fails. If you have ever asked yourself why you cannot stop even when you want to, even when you know the damage it is causing, this is your answer. Stay with me. Because what I am about to show you changes everything. Your brain has a reward system. It evolved over millions of years to keep you alive, to make you seek food when hungry, to make you pursue connection when lonely, to make you feel pleasure when you do something that helps your survival or reproduction. This system runs on a neurotransmitter called dopamine, and it originates in a tiny region deep in your midbrain called the ventral tegmental area, the VTA. When you do something your brain perceives as beneficial, the VTA releases dopamine. That dopamine travels along a pathway to another region called the nucleus accumbens. This is your pleasure center. This is where you feel reward. This is where motivation is born. Food gives you a dopamine spike. Exercise gives you one. Real human connection gives you one. Sex gives you one. This is normal. This is healthy. This is how your brain is supposed to work. But here is where it gets dark. Pornography does not give you a normal dopamine spike. It gives you a supernormal stimulus. A flood of dopamine far beyond what natural rewards provide. And it does it instantly. No effort, no risk, no real connection. Just click and flood. Click and flood. Over and over. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a real reward and a fake one. It just knows dopamine equals good. So it learns. It adapts. It says, this behavior gives me massive reward with zero effort. Do it again. Do it more. And the pathway from the VTA to the nucleus accumbens gets stronger, deeper, more automatic. This is called sensitization. Your brain becomes hypersensitive to the cues associated with pornography. A notification, a thumbnail, a thought, and the craving hits like a freight train. But there is a second mechanism happening simultaneously, and this one is even more insidious. It is called tolerance. Your dopamine receptors, the tiny proteins on your neurons that receive the dopamine signal, they start to downregulate. They become less sensitive. Your brain says, we are getting too much dopamine. This is dangerous. We need to protect ourselves. So it reduces the number of receptors. It dulls the signal. Now you need more stimulation to feel the same reward. What used to satisfy you no longer works. You escalate. More extreme content, longer sessions, more frequent use. You are chasing a high that keeps moving further away. And here is the cruelest part. While your brain is becoming numb to pornography, it is also becoming numb to everything else. Real sex feels dull. Conversation feels boring. Hobbies lose their appeal. Food tastes bland. Your entire reward system is recalibrated around one artificial stimulus, and nothing else can compete. This is not weakness. This is not lack of discipline. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, adapt to its environment. The problem is the environment you have given it is toxic. And the adaptation is killing your ability to feel pleasure from real life. Now let me show you the second layer of this trap. The part that explains why willpower fails. Why you can know all of this intellectually and still relapse. Why you can hate yourself for it and still do it again. This is about your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain right behind your forehead. This is your control center, your executive function, your ability to delay gratification, make rational decisions, override impulses, and act in alignment with your long-term values. When your prefrontal cortex is healthy, it acts as a brake on your impulses. The nucleus accumbens says, "I want this now." The prefrontal cortex says, "No, that conflicts with our goals. We are not doing that." This is how you resist temptation. This is how you build discipline. This is how you become a man of character instead of a slave to every craving. But chronic pornography use does something devastating to this region. It creates a state called hypofrontality, reduced function in the prefrontal cortex. Studies using brain imaging show that men with compulsive pornography use have measurably lower activity in the dorsolateral and ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, the very regions responsible for self-control. The brake is failing, and the accelerator, your sensitized reward system, is stuck at full throttle. This is why you can decide in the morning that today is the day you quit. You can feel strong. You can feel determined. You can believe it with every fiber of your being. And then 6 hours later, you are back in the cycle. It is not because you are weak. It is because your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that executes your decisions, is compromised. The decision-making hardware is damaged, and there is more. The prefrontal cortex also regulates your emotions. When it is weakened, you become more irritable, more anxious, more prone to depression, more reactive. You lose your emotional control. And what do you do when you feel those negative emotions? You seek relief. You seek dopamine. You seek the one thing that still works. The cycle feeds itself. Stress triggers use. Use weakens the prefrontal cortex. Weakened prefrontal cortex increases stress. Around and around. This is the trap. Sensitization makes you crave it more. Tolerance makes you need more to feel satisfied. And hypofrontality makes you unable to stop even when you want to. Your brain is working against you on 3 fronts simultaneously. This is why 94% of men fail when they rely on willpower alone. Because willpower is a function of the prefrontal cortex, and the prefrontal cortex is the casualty. But here is what nobody tells you. Here is the part that changes everything. Your brain is not permanently broken. It has one superpower that makes recovery possible: neuroplasticity. The ability to rewire itself, to heal, to adapt in the opposite direction. If your brain can learn addiction, it can unlearn it. If it can weaken the prefrontal cortex, it can strengthen it. If it can sensitize to pornography, it can desensitize. The damage is reversible, but you need to understand the timeline. You need to know what to expect, because most men quit during the hardest phase because they do not know it is temporary. Let me walk you through the neuroplasticity recovery timeline. The first phase is acute withdrawal. This lasts days to weeks. Your dopamine system is in shock. You have taken away its primary source of stimulation. Your brain is screaming for it. You will experience irritability, anxiety, brain fog, insomnia, intense cravings. This is your brain recalibrating. It feels terrible because your dopamine receptors are still downregulated. Natural rewards do not work yet. You feel flat, empty. This is the phase where most men relapse. They think something is wrong. They think they are getting worse. But this is actually the beginning of healing. You have to endure this phase. There is no shortcut. Around 1 month, something shifts. Your dopamine receptors begin to upregulate. They start to regain sensitivity. Small pleasures start to register again. A good meal tastes better. A conversation feels more engaging. Exercise gives you a natural high. This is your reward system coming back online. But the cravings are still strong. Your sensitized pathways are still there. The neural highways built over years of use do not disappear overnight. You are in the danger zone. One slip can reactivate everything. At 3 to 6 months, your prefrontal cortex starts to strengthen. Brain imaging studies show increased gray matter volume in the regions responsible for self-control. You start to feel more in command of yourself, more able to resist impulses. Your emotional regulation improves. You are less reactive, less anxious, more stable. This is when you start to feel like yourself again, like the man you were before the addiction took hold. But you are not out of the woods yet. 6 to 12 months is deep rewiring. Your brain is building new neural pathways, strengthening connections that support your new behavior, weakening the old addiction pathways through disuse. This is where lasting change happens, where the new you becomes the default you. Your mood stabilizes, your confidence returns, your relationships improve, real intimacy becomes possible again. This is the phase where men report feeling reborn. Beyond 12 months, you enter mature recovery. The old pathways are still there. They never fully disappear, but they are weak, dormant, like a trail through a forest that no one has walked in years. Overgrown, hard to find. Your new pathways are highways now, strong, automatic. This is freedom, not the absence of temptation, but the presence of strength. The ability to choose your response instead of being controlled by your impulses. But here is the critical insight. Neuroplasticity is not passive. Your brain does not heal just because you stop using pornography. It heals because you replace the behavior with something else. You have to give your brain new rewards, new sources of dopamine, real ones, exercise, deep work, creative projects, genuine human connection, service to others. These things rebuild your reward system. They strengthen your prefrontal cortex. They create the new neural pathways that make recovery permanent. This is where ancient wisdom becomes practical neuroscience. The Stoics understood something 2,000 years ago that modern science is only now confirming, that freedom is not the absence of desire. It is the mastery of desire. And that mastery comes from training your mind to focus on what is within your control. Epictetus taught the dichotomy of control. Some things are up to you. Your judgments, your actions, your responses. Other things are not up to you. External events, other people's opinions, outcomes. The addict focuses on outcomes. I want to feel good. I want the craving to go away. I want this to be easy. And because those outcomes are not fully within his control, he suffers. He fails. The free man focuses on what is within his control. His choice in this moment, his response to this craving, his decision to act in alignment with his values regardless of how he feels. This is prohairesis, the power of rational choice. The one thing that is always yours. The one thing that cannot be taken from you unless you give it away. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Every time you feel a craving, you have a choice. Not whether to feel the craving. That is not up to you. But how you respond to it. Do you follow it? Or do you observe it? Do you let it control you? Or do you exercise your rational choice? This is the discipline of desire. The Stoics taught that we should train ourselves to desire only what is within our power, to want only virtue, only what aligns with our rational nature. When you desire pornography, you are desiring something external, something that weakens you, something that takes your power. When you desire self-mastery, you are desiring something internal, something that strengthens you, something that is always available. The shift is subtle but profound. Instead of saying, "I want to quit pornography," you say, "I want to be a man of self-control." Instead of, "I do not want to feel this craving," you say, "I want to practice responding to cravings with reason instead of impulse." The first is focused on outcomes you cannot fully control. The second is focused on actions you can. And here is the neuroscience behind why this works. When you practice observing your cravings without acting on them, you are strengthening your prefrontal cortex. You are building the neural pathways of self-control. Every time you feel the urge and choose not to act, you are doing a repetition in the gym of discipline. Your brain is learning. This craving does not control me. I control my response. And over time, the craving loses its power. Not because it disappears, but because you become stronger than it. The Stoics also taught acceptance. Not acceptance of your addiction, but acceptance of the discomfort of recovery. Amor fati. Love your fate. Love what is. You are going through withdrawal. Your brain is rewiring. You feel terrible. This is not a problem. This is the process. This is what healing feels like. When you resist the discomfort, when you say this should not be happening, you create additional suffering. You add mental anguish on top of physical discomfort. But when you accept it, When you say this is exactly what should be happening because this is what is happening, the suffering decreases. You stop fighting reality. You stop wasting energy on wishing things were different. You channel that energy into action, into the next right choice, into the next moment of self-control. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of your suffering during recovery is not the actual withdrawal. It is your thoughts about the withdrawal, your fear that it will never end, your belief that you cannot handle it, your judgment that you are weak for struggling. These thoughts are optional. The withdrawal is not, but your interpretation of it is entirely within your control. This is the discipline of assent, the Stoic practice of examining your thoughts and choosing which ones to accept. When the thought comes, "I cannot do this," you pause. You examine it. Is this true? Or is this just a thought? Just neurons firing? Just your brain trying to get you back to the old pattern? And you choose not to assent to it. You say, "That is not true. I am doing this right now. I am choosing not to act on this craving. I am stronger than this thought." Every time you practice this, you are rewiring your brain. You are weakening the automatic connection between thought and action. You are strengthening your prefrontal cortex. You are becoming the master of your mind instead of its slave. This is not mysticism. This is practical neuroscience wrapped in ancient wisdom. Now let me give you the framework that makes all of this actionable. The system that combines neuroplasticity with Stoic discipline. This is not theory. This is the exact process that rebuilds your brain and your character simultaneously. Step 1 is radical honesty. You cannot heal what you will not acknowledge. Most men lie to themselves about the extent of the problem. They minimize. They rationalize. They say it is not that bad. Everyone does it. I can stop whenever I want. These lies keep you trapped. The first act of freedom is looking directly at the truth. How often are you using? How is it affecting your relationships, your energy, your self-respect? Write it down, all of it. The Stoics called this prososche, attention, vigilance. You cannot change what you do not see clearly. Step 2 is environmental control. Your willpower is limited. Your environment is not. Remove every trigger you can. Delete apps. Install blockers. Change your routines. Your brain has associated certain times, places, and situations with pornography use. These are cues. And cues trigger cravings automatically. You cannot rely on willpower to resist every cue. You have to eliminate the cues. This is not weakness. This is strategy. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle is not your environment. The obstacle is your refusal to change your environment. Change it. Step 3 is replacement, not removal. You cannot just stop. You have to start something else. Your brain needs dopamine. It needs reward. It needs stimulation. If you do not give it healthy sources, it will pull you back to the unhealthy one. This is where most men fail. They focus entirely on stopping pornography. They do not focus on building a life worth living. Exercise daily. Lift heavy things. Your body needs to move. Deep work daily. Build something. Create something. Your mind needs challenge. Social connection daily. Real conversation. Real presence. Your soul needs belonging. These are not optional. These are the foundation of recovery. Step 4 is urge surfing. This is the technique that changes everything. When a craving hits, you do not fight it. You do not try to make it go away. You observe it. You feel it fully. You notice where it shows up in your body, the tension in your chest, the heat in your face, the restlessness in your limbs. You watch it like a wave. It rises. It peaks. It falls. Every craving has a lifespan, usually 10 to 15 minutes. If you can observe it without acting on it, it will pass. And every time it passes, you get stronger. Your prefrontal cortex gets stronger. Your confidence gets stronger. Your freedom gets stronger. The Stoics practiced this with every difficult emotion, anger, fear, grief. They did not suppress it. They observed it. They said, "This is what anger feels like. This is what fear feels like." And they let it move through them without controlling them. You do the same with cravings. This is what craving feels like. It is uncomfortable, but it is not dangerous. It cannot hurt me. I can feel this and choose not to act. This is power. Step 5 is the daily review. Every night before you sleep, you review your day. The Stoics called this the evening examination. You ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do well today? Where did I act with self-control? Where did I exercise my rational choice? This reinforces the new neural pathways. Your brain learns, this is who I am now. Second question, where did I fail? Where did I give in to impulse? Where did I act against my values? This is not about shame. This is about learning. Your brain needs feedback. Third question, what will I do differently tomorrow? How will I respond better next time? This is preparation. This is strategy. This daily practice does 2 things. It strengthens your prefrontal cortex through reflection and planning, and it builds your identity as a man of self-control. Identity is the deepest level of behavior change. When you see yourself as someone who is trying to quit, you are fragile. When you see yourself as someone who does not use pornography, you are solid. The daily review builds that identity one day at a time. Step 6 is community and accountability. You cannot do this alone. Your brain is wired for connection. Isolation is the breeding ground for addiction. Find other men who are on this path. Not to commiserate, not to make excuses, but to challenge each other, to hold each other accountable, to remind each other of what is possible. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius had Epictetus. Seneca had Lucilius. They wrote to each other. They challenged each other. They held each other to the standard. You need the same. Find your brotherhood. Build it if it does not exist. And here's the final truth that nobody tells you. Recovery is not about returning to who you were before the addiction. It is about becoming someone you have never been. Someone stronger. Someone more disciplined. Someone more in control of his own mind. The addiction was a teacher. A brutal one, but a teacher nonetheless. It showed you what happens when you abandon self-mastery, when you let impulse rule, when you trade long-term fulfillment for short-term pleasure. Now you know, and you can never unknow it. The man who has never been addicted does not understand his own strength. He has never tested it. He has never had to rebuild himself from the ground up. You have, or you are about to. And that makes you dangerous, not to others, to mediocrity, to weakness, to every excuse and rationalization that keeps men trapped in lives they hate. You are becoming the kind of man who does hard things, who faces uncomfortable truths, who masters himself instead of being mastered by his desires. This is not about pornography anymore. This is about who you are becoming. This is about reclaiming your sovereignty, your freedom, your power. This is about building a brain and a character that can handle anything life throws at you. Because if you can master this, you can master anything. The path is clear. The neuroscience is proven. The ancient wisdom is timeless. Your brain can heal. Your prefrontal cortex can strengthen. Your dopamine system can recalibrate. But only if you do the work. Only if you face the discomfort. Only if you choose every single day to be the man you want to become instead of the man your impulses want you to be. So here is my challenge to you. Decide right now. Not tomorrow. Not after one last time. Right now. Are you going to be a man of self-control? Or are you going to be controlled? Are you going to master your mind? Or let your mind master you? The choice is yours. It has always been yours. And it will always be yours. That is the one thing that can never be taken from you. Your power of rational choice. Your prohairesis. Use it. Starting now, not perfectly, but consistently, one choice at a time, one craving at a time, one day at a time. Your brain is waiting to rewire. Your life is waiting to transform. And the man you are meant to become is waiting on the other side of this decision. The question is not whether you can do this. The question is whether you will. I already know the answer, because you are still here. You watched this entire video. You did not click away when it got uncomfortable. You faced the truth. That means you have what it takes. Now prove it to yourself. If this video gave you clarity, if it showed you something you needed to see, subscribe to this channel. Because we are building a community of men who refuse surface-level advice, who demand uncomfortable truths, who are committed to self-mastery no matter the cost. That is what this channel is about. That is who we are. And if you are serious about this, go watch my video on emotional control next. Because the skills you need to master your cravings are the same skills you need to master your emotions, your reactions, your entire life. It is all connected, and we are going to master it all. Your brain is not broken. It is hijacked. Now you know how to take it back. Go do it.